Good morning. Please be seated. Members of the class of 2022, faculty and staff, distinguished guests, families, and friends, welcome to the 167th commencement ceremony for the Washington and Lee School of Law. That's right. It is so good to see you all here in one place. It has been 3 long years since we have been able to gather in our traditional fashion for this ceremony, and the sight does wonders for the soul. We're here this morning to celebrate the achievements of our graduates and to share their excitement about the future that awaits them. This ceremony marks the beginning of a new chapter in the life of each graduate. Just as surely it marks the ending of another. And this most recent chapter has been a doozy. When you arrived in the fall of 2019, pandemic was not yet in our vocabulary. 6 short months later, the spiraling global health crisis sent you packing before disrupting the entirety of your second year. Yet you persevered through everything to conquer your classes, your clinics, your exams, most importantly, to reinstitute the venerable Law School Football League, and to go out in style today. The experience of the class of 2022 has been historic. Your time in law school has been like none before it. And yet you also share much with the law graduates who have come before you. W&L has shaped you as individuals and as a class. Together you've studied, argued, developed the habits of mind that characterize good lawyers. You've made lasting friendships that will give you pleasure and support wherever you go. Before you set out on your different paths, I want you to savor your final moments together here this morning, here on this historic campus that has been your shared home. Our law school, your law school, is the 16th oldest in the United States. Its origins reflect the long and lasting connections between the university and the community in which we live. Lexington Law School was founded in 1849 by John Brockenbrough, a local lawyer and federal judge. It originally operated out of the building on the corner of Nelson and Jefferson Streets that now houses the Palms. It's a delicious irony, is it not? The law school was incorporated into Washington College in 1866, and Brockenbrough served as the inaugural dean before resigning over a salary dispute. Some things never change. For most of its long history, the law school was located right here on the Colonnade, which was not only the heart of campus, it was the entire campus in the 19th century. Tucker Hall, just over your left shoulder, which is named for John Tucker, who served as the Attorney General of Virginia and United States Congressman before becoming Dean of the Law School in 1893, was home to the law school from 1900 to 1976. It contains the 2-story library in which one Supreme Court justice, several American Bar Association presidents, and many other distinguished alumni received their legal education. Crossing the ravine to Lewis Hall in 1977, just 2 years before today's commencement speaker, Lazanne Thomas, arrived with her fellow members of the class of '82, the law school was at the forefront of the university's 20th century expansion onto back campus. As the undergraduates followed your lead across Woods Creek, the law school became again geographically central, reflecting its historical and contemporary significance to Washington and Lee. The tradition of excellence at Washington and Lee School of Law stretches back more than 150 years, but it also aspires ever forward in keeping with our motto, non incautus futuri, not unmindful of the future. You are all part of this tradition, part of this history, and part of this future. Take W&L, the place, the people, and the lessons that you learned with you into the world, and you and the world will be better for it. I congratulate you, and I now call upon Dean Michelle Drumble to continue the ceremony.
Thank you very much, President Dudley. What an absolute joy and honor it is to be here today, gathered together on the Colonnade, celebrating the class of 2022. Congratulations. To say that your class has been through a lot is an understatement. But as I look out at you today, I am so very happy for you. As President Dudley mentioned, when you all arrived in August 2019, the word COVID was not in our vocabulary. You showed up, bright-eyed and enthusiastic, having no idea what the world had in store for your law school experience. Your first year started as one would expect. You learned your way around the building. You became accustomed to answering the professor's cold calls. You formed study groups. You enjoyed a semester and a half of all the things that law students here have always taken for granted. A close-knit community in Lewis Hall, SBA parties, free coffee on Mondays at the Brief Stop. Then, of course, by mid-March of your first year, everything abruptly changed. Classes were interrupted. Then they went virtual on Zoom. Some new norms emerged overnight, such as that little wave we all do now at the end of a Zoom call. We had an entirely remote exam period. The summer internships you had lined up went virtual, but you persevered. You returned to law school in person in the fall of your second year, and we all made peace with the new reality. We wore masks, classrooms were socially distanced. We had some classes on Saturday. Sorry about that. Every class ended by wiping down the desks with those little wipes. Office hours, happy hours, moot court competitions were all virtual. But you persevered, you hung in there. And by your third year, we were a vaccinated community and we were able to navigate things with a little bit more certainty. And in the end, things came back full circle and felt more like the before times that we all remember in Lewis Hall. You had pig roast, partio, trivia nights, and the barrister's ball. We had in-person symposia, competitions, and banquets. And exactly 50 days ago today, your 3L class gathered in the moot court lobby for our traditional 50 days to graduation celebration. The mood was joyful, and I could see on your faces that the reality of this day was sinking in for you. There was a microphone, and to kick off the evening, we sang happy birthday to one of your classmates. I'm not going to sing now, but I do want to take just a moment to recognize that one of you has a birthday today. Happy birthday to Patrick Quimby. I can promise you, you will always remember celebrating a birthday on the day of your law graduation. But at that celebration, that was less than 2 months ago, we made toasts to your class, and a number of you took a turn at the microphone to reflect on your law school experience. I really loved being there to hear your reflections that night, hearing you look back to your first year as you realized how far you all have come. Hearing you reflect on your friendships with humor, with appreciation, and with affection for one another. Hearing you share stories about times when you had struggled, describing how your classmates and friends were there to support you through those tough times. And over these years, you all have celebrated a lot of life's other moments together as well. You've cheered for each other's accomplishments when classmates have won competitions and have received awards and job offers. You celebrated each other's weddings and the birth of babies. What struck me that night, and what strikes me today as I look out at you, is that despite all the curveballs life threw at you over the last 3 years, you really did have a typical W&L law experience. And so, it ends now, on the front lawn, looking very much like the law graduation that we all know from the before times. So as I reflect on all of this, I think if there is one life takeaway from your law school experience, it's probably something that transcends civil procedure, or torts, or contracts, constitutional law, and even tax law. I can imagine that it might be this: do not ever take anything for granted. In a pre-pandemic world, this would have sounded like a cliche, and maybe it still does, but class of 2022, Your law school experience epitomizes the need to take advantage of things when you have the chance and not put off happy things for later. I hope I will never again take for granted the amazing energy in the room when every seat in the moot courtroom is filled for an event, or how great it feels to toast each other's accomplishments in person instead of over Zoom, or how special it is to gather for commencement on the front lawn, even if it begins to drizzle. And on that note, I have a few parting words. First, thank you. Thank you for your sense of humor, your grace, and your aforementioned perseverance. For me personally, it has been a tremendous privilege to serve as your interim dean this year. This role has provided me the perspective to really appreciate how you all, as individuals, come together to form a special community at this law school. The perspective also helps me to look into the future and see you as alumni of our law school. Alumni are a special part of our W&L community, as evidenced by people like Lazanne Thomas, who we're glad to have with us today as your commencement speaker. We look forward to welcome you back to campus anytime, and we truly do hope to hear from you often. Wherever you might end up, send us back some sunshine when you can. Whether it's an email to one of your professors about something that reminded you of their class, or an offer to speak to new law students who might be interested in your practice area, or just an update about how things are going in your life, I can tell you that nothing brightens our day like hearing from former students. And finally, take a moment to simply pause and take this all in, bask in it, embrace the drizzle. Do not put off the chance to say thank you to the friends and loved ones who formed your support network these past 3 years. Graduating from law school has always been a significant accomplishment. Doing it in the middle of a pandemic, even more so. You didn't bargain for this in your law school application. It's a huge milestone. Thank you all for being our class of 2022. It has been an honor to be along for the ride. Now let's get to the highlight of the ceremony, the conferring of degrees. I now ask the members of the law class of 2022 to rise. President Dudley, I have the honor to present 119 candidates for the Juris Doctor degree. They have been examined by the faculty and approved by the Board of Trustees. They are to be congratulated on their command of the ways by which justice is attained and commended for their exceptional learning to the advancement of a just social order. I ask you, by your official act, to confer upon them their degrees.
Upon the recommendation of the faculty and approval by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer the degree of Juris Doctor of Washington and Lee University. Please come forward to receive your diploma as your name is called. I ask the audience to hold your applause until all graduates have received their diplomas.
Nikolai Abayev. Catherine Agbenoheavy. Rianne Alexis. Jacqueline Kelsey Arnold. Zara Asadi. Patricia Brooke Baird. Kristen McKeska Barkemeyer. Timothy J. Benedict. Landon Paul Benson. Joshua M. Burland. Courtney N. Blinn. Jamie Elizabeth Bloxam. Patricia Christina Bowen. Raven Chanel Burks. Emma R. Burry. Alexandra Lynn Castro. Sarah Ashworth Childs. Taylor A. Christensen. Joshua Lawrence Clarity. Henry McDonald Cleland. Hannah E. Kaufman Polk. Skylar James Cottrell. Carson Alexander Cox. Andrew C. Dagan. Mallory A. Davis. Ryan Michael Dercole. Gemma Nicole DeVrogatis. Jonathan Arthur DeRazio. Hayden J. Driscoll. James Thomas Dwyer IV. John Morgan Dykstra. Sheldon Victoria Ekirch. Pierce Thompson Embry. Michael Edward Ferguson Sr. Andrew William Flack. Tara Opitz Flack. Lydia Serena Flores. Keely Gray Fresh. Catherine C. Gallagher. Alyssa N. Garufi. Richard Howard Gilliland III. Mauricio Gonzalez. Selena Keishan Govin. Morgan Elizabeth Hadlock. Thomas E. Hall. Evanthea Hammer. Philip S. Harmon. Forrest Lucas Hill. Chandler K. Holcomb in absentia. Alexandra E. Hoyt. Elizabeth Christine Hudson. Luis F. and Yara Rojas. Scott Bradford Ingram. Nathan Andrew Jacob. Katrina Pepper Jadamski. Ethan Lee Jedziniak. Charles T. Jones III. Matthew David Kaminer. Yevgeny K. Klinovsky. Destiny A. Kozlowski. Lauren K. Lanson. Davi Liang. Jacob B. Lichtenstein. Tianjiao Liu. Randolph Augustus Malone V. Rafael A. Martinez. Alyssa M. Matthews. Sabrina Matlock. Harley Joanne McClellan. Kylan Sophia Josephine Meminger. Jordan S. Maselli.
Thank you.
Luke R. Millar. Cindy J. Moon. Jolene Morris. Catherine J. Nelson Sayers. Matthew Alden Newton. Kim Kwong H. Nguyen in absentia. Rosa Elizabeth Nielsen. Elizabeth Nicole Noon. Austin Randolph Palmore. Catherine Elizabeth Pauley. Angelo A. Pavone. Aaron M. Pettigrew. Patrick Christian Quimby. Sineri Tarindi Rauf. Nathaniel P. Reynolds. Benjamin Lee Ritchie. Lauren R. Robertson. Laurel Dawn Rodewald. Aria Salahi. Ainsley Brooke Satterwhite. Elena Schifela. Anna Renee Schroer. Emily Ann Silkowski. Brittany Lynn Smith. William H. Smith III. Kenneth Vaughn Snavely. Hunter Thomas Staten. Christopher Swope. Harrison J. Tanzola. Rod Tassib Shirazi. Hallie Irene Townsend. William A. Trubin III. Catherine Alexandra Turk. Sarah C. Vanderhoff. Russell S. Wade. James M. Walker III. Jatswoon Wong. Timothy Wang. Simone Sun Washington. Christopher E. Watts. Claire Elizabeth Welch. Madeline M. Claire Lindsay Williams. Ashley Robinson Wynn Jr. Adam J. Wise. Alexander M. Zenos. Kendrick K. Yu. Sichai Zhu. Please join me in congratulating the class of 2022. Please take your seats. It is now my great honor to introduce to you our commencement speaker, Lazanne Thomas, a member of the law class of 1982 and current WNL trustee. Ms. Thomas is the chair of corporate governance practice and partner in charge of the Southern U.S. region for the law firm of Jones Day in Atlanta. While her roots are as an M&A lawyer, Ms. Thomas practices, teaches, and lives corporate governance. She participates in about 100 board meetings per year as counsel to a number of public companies and represents special committees in control and conflict transactions, as well as in internal investigations. Ms. Thomas is experienced in shareholder activism, public and private mergers and acquisitions, and environmental, social, and corporate governance. She frequently lectures on governance matters to leading business organizations, companies, and universities. In addition to her service on Washington and Lee's Board of Trustees, where she chairs the Audit Committee and is a member of the Law School, Trusteeship, and Executive Committees, Ms. Thomas is a member of the Board of Directors of American Software, Inc. She previously served on several publicly held boards, including Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen and Krispy Kreme Donuts. While she was chair of the Governance Committee, Krispy Kreme twice won National Corporate Governance Awards. In 2016, she was named one of the country's top 100 directors by the National Association of Corporate Directors. Ms. Thomas is active in a number of philanthropic organizations, including the Georgia Research Alliance, the Woodruff Arts Center, and the Rotary Club of Atlanta, and she is a former trustee of Furman University. Lazanne, it is an honor to have you join us today, and thank you for sharing your wisdom and expertise with our graduating students. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Lazanne Thomas.
Good morning. How about that sunshine? President Dudley, fellow members of the Board of Trustees, Dean Drumble, faculty and staff, parents, loved ones, friends of Washington and Lee, and most importantly, to the extraordinary class of 22, welcome. It is my distinct honor to speak to you today. I will note that there's something apt about your graduation date being Friday the 13th. It would be easy to leave it at unlucky. After all, COVID, the name controversy, divided politics, the war in Ukraine, looming inflation, the Supreme Court fracas, and not to mention the rain that we just had. But I'd say instead that adversity has refined you, And from what I hear from law school leadership, it has helped you bond and helped you be delightfully good-humored, which we've seen today. So my advice is, go adopt a black cat, break a mirror, prop a ladder by your door. You've got this. I mean it. And so today, I'm going to talk to you about how, not what. How to approach your new career, how to think about opportunities that come your way, how to build bridges, how to embrace the many transitions that you'll encounter both professionally and personally. And about that word professional, well, I know you will be a lifelong learner, except that you are a professional now with the concomitant obligations that come with that. The buck stops with you. Exercise judgment. Behave with discretion. Always be kind. No one else, except for perhaps your mom, hello moms out there, no one else will think about you and your career as much as you do. You are the governor of your own choices. As that gracious introduction from Dean Drumble indicated, I am a governance lawyer. I advise the boards of leading companies across the globe, and I live in the world of how. The what might range from M&A transactions to serious criminal investigations. Frankly, the subject matter doesn't really well matter. For my governance practice, it's not about the what, it's about the how. How does a board of directors make a sound and defensible decision? How do directors deliberate and then act together, even in the face of serious disagreement? How should companies honor their purpose, their people, the environment, when expectations change daily? So rest easy. This is not a lecture. My reference point is not going to be Virginia or Delaware fiduciary duty law, but instead will be about something we already know, and that's childhood. Paul Tough, the New York Times columnist, wrote a book about kids, and I would argue he wrote about you several years ago. He titled it How Children Succeed. Focusing on children who had experienced adversity, he analyzed how most of them nonetheless thrived. It came down to attributes those kids possessed in spades: grit, curiosity, resilience, optimism, and most importantly, if not surprisingly, gratitude. I would be remiss if I didn't call out my grown sons here today, young adults who've had their share of adversity and yet have responded with the very resilience I'm describing, as well as with humor, which was usually at my expense. So back to my theme. I would argue you already have all of these attributes. You already have what you need to succeed in your career and in life. Today is just a reminder. So let's talk about grit. Over 90% of you are here, at least in part, on financial aid. What that means is that you already know how to make tough commitments and how to live up to them. One of my most beloved professors here, the now retired Uncas McThenia, really enjoyed my own poorly executed attempt at grit. Fact is, I ran out of money during my third year of law school. Flat out. Couldn't pay the last semester's tuition. My food budget was $1.25 a day. Thank goodness for Campbell's soup, because it allowed me to pocket some change for a Miller Lite on Saturday night. Anyway, I attempted to pay that tuition with a student-issued MasterCard, which was kind of a new thing at the time. The university treasurer was highly doubtful, but Uncas McThenia advocated for me and carried the day. I remain forever grateful to him, and I keep trying to pay it forward in his honor. You've earned your grit in other ways too. The majority of your professional schooling during a pandemic, yet you learn to write and argue, you learn to collaborate and build relationships, even remotely. Trying circumstances will come again, might even start raining while I'm talking. And for all we know, COVID isn't done with us even yet, but you already have what you need. So now let's talk about curiosity. Some of you will be prosecutors, some public defenders, some will go to big law, others will hang out a shingle. And some of you, like my wonderful husband of 37 years, a fellow 82 law grad, will use your legal education in wholly unexpected ways. His was journalism. Your law degree will serve you well regardless of the path you choose, because you have curiosity and you know how to scratch that itch. You know how to find real information and to call out alternative facts. You also know how to have a full life beyond law. Music, family, sports, doesn't matter. The very best lawyers are not one-dimensional. So you also know how to read the room, be it the judge, a jury, fellow students, work colleagues, or boards of directors. And now to my second story. After the severe market crash of 1987, and I'll pause for a moment, I realized that perhaps none of you, other than Michael Ferguson, Michael, a big shout out to you for your service to our country. I think you have 3 classmates who did the same. In any event, way back in 1987, after that market crash, many publicly traded clients adopted an array of complex takeover protections to address the vulnerabilities that came to them by being severely undervalued. I was a junior associate at the time, certainly younger than Michael Ferguson, but about the age of the rest of you. Okay, Michael, I apologize. We traveled to meet with a company that was a major New York Stock Exchange company, and I should disclose, I was very happily and hugely pregnant at the time. When it came time for us to make the full board presentation, the senior partner abruptly turned to me and said, "You do it. I get verklempt in public." Thanks for the warning. I stumbled through, even though the chairman of the board, himself a W&L alum of the old-fashioned variety, was quite unhappy that this young lady would have the impertinence to tell him how his compensation would have to change. But I survived. The board dinner that evening was at a grand hunting lodge. The chairman, having apparently decided that I was up to snuff, took me by the elbow and squired me around the room, ordering the CEO to bring me drinks. As we sat for supper, I realized I was both the least powerful and the most powerful person in the room. I was the junior most person there, by far, but as the only woman in the room, these courteous men waited for me to sit before they sat, waited for me to pick up my fork before they did, waited for me to set the tone. I had the power to make the evening awkward or comfortable. I chose comfortable. You have that power too, if you pay attention. So let your curiosity guide you. Read the room. In every task you undertake, give equal weight to the relationship, not just the work product. I might even argue that your W&L education, in particular, guides you along this road. After all, honor and civility require that you pay careful attention to others. Don't ever lose that. So you already have what you need. So now let's talk about resilience. Here, I don't have a funny story, but I do have 10 tips, just 10, on how to avoid mistakes at work, how to own them when they get made, how to get up when you've been knocked down or marginalized. So here we go, help me count. Number 1, never, ever, ever do BCC. And always pay attention to whether or not you have been BCC'd, in which event, do not reply to all. I speak from experience. Number 2, never, ever, ever use sarcasm, shorthand, or humor in a substantive email. Save that for friends and family. Millions of dollars have been spent defending lawsuits that arose because a lawyer's quick quip is misinterpreted and then used for mischief. Remember, the attorney-client privilege is a very thin reed. Number 3, never, ever, ever allow typos to show up in your work product. It erodes the reader's confidence in your substance. And recognize that spell check will not do your thinking for you. Number 4, never, ever, ever be late to a call, a Zoom conference, or even an in-person meeting. On time is late. Matter of fact, a number of years ago, I started dialing in no less than 5 minutes early. Most of you will spend your careers as service providers, not as clients. And no client should ever wait on a service provider. Besides, these early minutes are a really good time to bond, an opportunity to read the room. Number 5, never, ever, ever fail to have the logistics in hand. This is particularly true for those of you who are going to be associates in big law. Have the dial-in number, the passcode, the address, the names, the file numbers, the deadlines, the directions, the details, all at the ready. You'll be a hero. And if you want to be a superhero, ahead of time, you will have spent some time learning about the client and the industry. Number 6, and this one is probably the one your parents will quote back to you, never, ever, ever drink to excess at work functions. It might be called a cocktail party, but you are still at work. As my managing partner says, alcohol is a contributing factor, not a mitigating one. My own survival technique is to be an alternator. Water, wine, water, wine. Number 7, if you have bad news to give to a client, to a senior lawyer, to a loved one, do it promptly and ideally in person. Own it, apologize clearly, completely, but succinctly, and tamp down the natural desire to be defensive. Number 8, don't close yourself off to unlikely mentors. They come in all shapes and sizes, and they won't always look like you, they won't always agree with you, they won't always even be nice, and in fact, they may not even be lawyers. Be open to the unexpected and presume goodwill. Most folks are clumsy, if well-intentioned. Let that be your presumption until otherwise proven. Number 9, very few people have earned the right to know everything you're thinking. Keep your own counsel. I haven't succeeded at this entirely, but I do try to keep my social media musings sunny and benign. I confess, your generation has a different point of view, and that's okay. I'm still learning. But I do urge you to assess consequences. Have you respected privacy? Have you considered impact on your firm, on your clients, on your family? Remember, you're now a professional, and like it or not, that's 24/7. Number 10, and the final one, at the request of this sounding like the polar opposite of what I just said, don't hold back. At your job, give it your all the time, until the moment you decide to do something else. This gives you the greatest optionality, and holding back takes just as much energy as giving it your all. But you knew all of these rules already. You already have what you need. So now let's talk about optimism. And yes, I have a funny story here. This is one of my favorites, I confess. On a cold dawn morning, I was driving down a lonely country road to get to the fairly remote headquarters of a client. Ahead on the side of the road, I spied something. Well, I'm a nature lover. I was ahead of schedule, so I pulled over. And yes, indeed, it was a dead bobcat. Recently dead, hit by a car, but in pristine condition. Now, mind you, I'm in my lawyer suit and high heels. And yes, I poked my toe at the bobcat, just as an old fellow rumbled up in an old truck. He rolled down the window, leaned out, and said, "Did you hit it?" Nope, just curious, I told him, and after he was convinced, we had a nice conversation. So I drove on to the board meeting, and all day during that board meeting, when I should have been paying attention, I was thinking about that bobcat. I wanted it. During my drive home, I made a bargain with myself. If I could find it, and if it was still there, and it was in acceptable condition, it would be mine. So I called my husband. This was a time of really spotty cell phone coverage. And all he heard before the line disconnected was me saying, "Can you taxiderm roadkill?" As I drove back, sure enough, the cat was there, no worse for the cold day it had spent by the side of the road. And then I realized, I'm driving a station wagon. Even if I could pick the dang thing up, it would be in the car with me for 2 hours. So the rest of the drive home, alone, I berated myself for being a catless chicken. I'm pleased to report that on my birthday, several months later, a big box arrived, courtesy of my husband, a taxidermed bobcat, which holds a place of honor in our media room. The point is, optimism is a state of mind. Be open to the idea that good things will happen, even in the most unexpected ways. Relatedly, it's almost always better to say yes at work than to say no. Clients, senior lawyers will remember that to your advantage. Say yes. You already have what you need. And now to my final point, gratitude. One of the truths you will find as a W&L alum is that it matters that you went here. It matters. Other W&L alums, law and undergrad alike, will reach out, will lift you up, will send you referrals, will remember you, will innately and completely trust you. All because of this remarkable experience and background we share. It really matters. Almost every good thing in my professional and personal life ties in some way back to Washington and Lee. From my first job, to clients, to mentors and mentees, to my husband, to cherished friends. And I am standing here today because in some small way, I want to express my gratitude to those who went before all of us and made this happy day possible for me and for you. So to close, I offer up this quote. It's not from Learned Hand or Justice Powell or Justice Ginsburg. Remember, your mentors won't always be lawyers. It's from Eubie Blake, the noted jazz composer of the last century. On how to have a good and long life, Eubie said, "Be grateful for luck, listen to the birds, pay the thunder no mind, and don't hate nobody." Godspeed, class of 22. I'm grateful for you.
I would now like to call forward Matthew Newton, president of the third year class, and Courtney Blinn, vice president of the third year class, to the podium for the presentation of the walking stick.
Hi, everyone. In the 1920s, senior lawyers, now known as 3Ls, carried canes throughout their final year as a mark of the respect and admiration they enjoyed on campus. The custom of carrying the cane on campus was most popular during the 1920s and the 1930s. These canes were the privileged possessions of senior law students, who were frequently a selected minority. During this, many students left law school after their second year, when only 2 years of law school were required for taking the bar. The cane tradition was a way of distinguishing these third-year students as the most loyal and the most scholarly. The cane stayed a law school symbol for over 25 years before its declining popularity in the early 60s. The class of 1981 reinstated the tradition with what we know as today the walking stick, by ordering sticks as souvenirs to be carried at graduation. The tradition continues as we, the class of 2022, received our walking sticks last night and used them during our graduation ceremony today. We extend our tradition by giving our commencement speaker a walking stick every year. Thank you, Ms. Thomas, and congrats to the class of 2022.
Thank you so much. Thank you. This makes 3 in my household. I'm thrilled to have it.
Before I yield the floor to President Dudley to conclude our ceremony, I would like to recognize the one law school employee retiring this year. Kitty Hayes Falls, our senior law library assistant, is retiring after 39 years of service to WNL. Thank you for joining me in that round of applause to thank her for her hard work and dedication. I now recognize President Dudley, who will bring our ceremony to a close.
I'd like to bring these exercises to their fitting conclusion by expressing our gratitude for everyone who's made this day possible. On behalf of the graduates, we thank the faculty who've prepared you to begin your careers. We thank the alumni whose generosity has supported your education. We thank the university's staff whose faithful performance of their duties has made your lives so much better in every way. And we thank your families who've made it possible for you to be here. In closing, I encourage our graduates to reflect upon what it means to enter the noble profession that is the practice of the law. Each of you has the opportunity to do good and important work. Make WNL proud. Come back often to Lexington, where you will always be warmly welcome. And we will be eager to hear how your lives and careers unfold. I wish each and every one of you the very best. I hope you'll join us right now for luncheon on Cannon Green, prepared by our outstanding catering team. This concludes the commencement ceremony for the class of 22. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Heartfelt.
So you can put your 3 walking sticks and your dead cat in the same display case.
Exactly.
I need to see this cat.
Well, he has a place of honor in our beach
Did he
house.
recover the actual cat?
No, no.